Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your host T from WokePopCulture. How are y'all doing today? I am so happy to be back recording. It's been a minute since I've given you guys a podcast episode, and what's so crazy is the last time I went live, somebody in the chat had asked me about podcasting, and I said, my heart really just wasn't there creatively, and that if I did give a podcast again, that it would be on YouTube. Well, lo and behold, here we are. I'm making this podcast because I don't feel like typing up a blog post on the website or on Instagram. So I want to just do a podcast here. I want this to be something that can be replayed and listened to and enjoyed in an audio way or in an audible way or whatever. So I'm making this a podcast. I want to just again start off with how was, I guess, your Chinese New Year / Mardi Gras / start of Ramadan, Lent. Are you guys celebrating those holidays? If you are, please say something in the chat. I celebrated Chinese New Year by cleaning a whole bunch before the 17th, and then I thought about it after the fact, but I was going to take some bitters that day and I just didn't end up doing it. And later that day though, I was like, wait, they say not to have bitter things. So I was like, oh good, but I almost forgot about it. But anywho, I'm not Chinese, I'm into Chinese herbal medicine, and, it has helped me. You guys know, I've talked a lot about health and wellness over the last couple months, and I will continue to talk about health and wellness. I'm going to get into that more here a little bit later, but yes, I have been following Chinese medicine and buying Chinese herbs. So I guess have gotten into a little bit of Chinese culture, just through health and wellness. And guys, I'm just a spiritual person. I'm from New Orleans, it's a very spiritual place. That is just who I am. I believe in a higher power. I know that there's lower energies in this realm. Again, I run WokePopCulture, right? I've been woke since in high school. I know what this shit is about, and again, we're going to talk more about that too. But with me being woke and all that, I'm going to lead into the Epstein files. I have talked to you guys about the Epstein files before, and again, as time passes, my feelings towards it, I guess, become a lot more clear. I don't know, should I say that? I don't know if I want to say more apathetic, because I don't know if I'm not apathetic. I care. There are children being hurt in the worst ways. That is sick. But no one's being arrested because these people are allegedly Freemasons. I have to say allegedly. I'm trying to keep my YouTube. This is not my podcast where I pay for it and I own it. This is my YouTube page where I gotta keep it cute. So allegedly these people are involved in or initiated into different forms of occult practice, and that is what is protecting them from any type of legal justice, being served properly. Another thing though with all of this stuff being exposed is there's no more conspiracies anymore. There's nothing else to doubt. There's nothing else to question. It's done. It's over. It's so nice that now my name is Woke Pop Culture, because it used to be Pop Culture Conspiracy. That's why the website is still Pop Culture Conspiracy. And I continue to, I might change the domain when the domain expires, but you guys, it's no more conspiracy. It used to be conspiracy. I used to be a conspiracy theorist because that was the name for people who were talking about all these things, but we didn't have any proof of it. Now we have hardcore evidence. So no more conspiracy theorists. Now people get to see, okay, all this shit is true. It's been proven. But I've already talked to you guys, and I've told you, and I will continue to tell you, that the way that this is being done and the files that are out and just how the media is running with it, a lot of it is still a psyop, because there's reason as to why they're doing it. I'm glad that people now know the truth, but part of the truth is, okay, now people know, and this just exposes just how powerless people are. The people who have to work who have to go to these organizations every day, like, we're powerless. We just want to survive. We just want to live. And we're not the ones hurting the kids, but I mean, who is going to fight for the kids, you guys? Who is? Now everyone knows, but who is going to fight for the kids? I guess the only power that we do have is to not support Hollywood, not support, mainstream music and like entertainment. That's really the only power that we have, because we really should be like, again, all not going to work and being like, yeah, we should be burning, we should be tearing down credit unions, banks, and like all that. We should be going after like the monsters in charge. But people feel so powerless because on a deeper level, it's a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war. A lot of people just don't have it in them. They're too scared. And again, we would have to collectively come together. And even then, it's a spiritual war. We would have to all be on the same accord. And that's, I think, the issue with humanity is that we're not on the same accord. Many of us, again, have different bloodlines. There's so much division among us, especially when it comes to race. So, not everybody that looks human is even human. So, we don't even really know who is who. Like, how the fuck we gonna assemble? The men are so fucking weak nowadays. And I'm not really trying to throw shade at, like, all men. But, y'all, how the people who are really like I guess have the resources to help us fight are the ones who are affiliated with these people. Otherwise, I mean, let me know if you have another solution. I think people again feel powerless. I feel powerless too, because again, me and every other person who is not a part of the cabal, which there are many of us, we would all have to get on the same accord and be willing to like put our life on the line and like, be unalive for it. And even then, again, it's a spiritual war. So we would all have to get on the same, like, religious and spiritual. I don't want to say religious, but to some extent, I guess I say religious as an aspect of, again, organized spirituality. That's what religion is like some type of organization. And like, this is how we do it. This is how we all practice, because that is what these freaks are doing. They are doing organized occult practice to high levels. There's like different lodges that they join that have like a specific way that they practice, a specific spell that they do. There's a reason. That's why they're hurting the children. That's why they're doing what they do, because that is in the book. That's in their books, to go find young children, particularly boys of a certain age, and allegedly sodomize them. I still have to say this. You guys know. Allegedly backdoor them and sometimes unalive them upon, the big O. So, like, and this is stuff that, again, Unplug 'em has relayed, that Aleister Crowley talks about in his books. This is how they do ritual. Like, literally, on a certain moon, on a certain time, like, you use menstrual blood and light a candle and like do some weird ass shit. This is the type of shit they do, and I'm just wanting to lay that out. Like, these people, these are not kitchen witches. These are not, again, like when you start getting into more folk magic, like Santeria and voodoo is an organized religion, or a full-on religion. But when you start to get into like more folk magic, again, Wicca is a type of folk magic. There's other types from different other cultures. That stuff is kind of, to a certain extent, like there's a formula to it, but it's not like hardcore organized like religion. Christianity, the Bible has like how it wants you to practice. Judaism, they have their ways that they want you to practice. And us as a people would have to all discover like the same truth about the one true God and the energies in the universe, and like come into cahoots on a one true practice to defeat these monsters. And that is a great feat, because so many different people have so many different things that they believe, with or without the files. A lot of people are not going to really read the files all the way through. We're going to be given bits and pieces of like the real hardcore truth for those that are actually tapped into that algorithm. Otherwise, the main headlines are going to be about celebrities, because they are the sacrifices for the white ones. When you think about it, again, it's black and white chessboard. The black pawns are taken off the board for white. The white always wins. In this particular timeline in Matrix, the black side is the sacrifice side. So that's why you see people like, again, Jay-Z and Whoopi Goldberg and a lot of other people, and TMZ, again, is completely like scooting past it, and it's not in the news and in the media as much. And that's part of what I mean when I say like that's the psyop in it too. Again, there's so many people who were actually in those files, and then again, they're not telling you everybody that was in those files. I repeatedly tell you guys, Tom Cruise, how the fuck is he not in the files? Again, so much more of the British royal family are not in those files. Yada yada yada, the list goes on and on. Beyonce not being in them, but her husband being in them, bullshit. I rest my case. Now that the conspiracy is over, it's just hard to really be invested in a lot of this stuff, and it's been difficult. You guys know I've talked to you about going back to work. I've talked to you about all the things I've been doing with that, and just like having a life. Like, I've repeatedly told you I'm working on several projects. I got a lot of stuff going on in my day job, and just other stuff I'm working on too. And I think celebrities, again, like, it's cool to like laugh at them and like jokes and gags. I mean, I think that's a lot of what my page has really become. It's kind of always been that way, because again, I'm exposing the bullshit that they do, but I try to do it in a funny and funny snarky way. And I think there's always, I guess, space for that, but I'm really moving on to like the health and wellness space and just the healing space. Like, that's where my heart really is right now. Again, as I was telling you guys about the Chinese medicine, that is really where I'm at. Like, just beauty, self-care, health and wellness, healing. I've told you guys I'm feeling better, just energy wise, and that has been really great. And I'm just very, I feel like God has given me a lot of favor, in that, department. It's been great. I feel like I still have some work to do, but, overall I feel a lot better, and it's just, I'm grateful. But again, I'm busy, and when I see a lot of shit that's going on right now in the celebrity space, a lot of this shit is tired and repetitive. When you know that, again, okay, the jig is up, no more conspiracy, okay, great. Now, if I continue to cover a lot of these people, it's just like, why give them fame and clout? When it comes to Cardi B, I see her going on tour. I see the mishaps. I see the bullshit. The butt, the dance routine, a lot of it doesn't look good. I see it. But I'm not a big fan of her. So I don't want to repeatedly post about her. Like, artists that I do not like, I do not really try to give that much clout to. Like, I cover people that I don't like, but I don't make it like a habit. I do my best not to make it a habit to cover, Megan Thee Stallion, Lotto, Cardi B. Like, I'll cover them here and there, but you won't see me repeatedly posting on them. And even with Nicki Minaj, I'm a Nicki fan, but I do not post on her repeatedly. Like, I try to, I think, just space it out and just talk about stories that, I really do find interesting. But when it, lately, I can't say I find a ton of stuff interesting. I feel like, again, it gets predictable. Okay, somebody's family member has passed away. We kind of, most of the time, know what time it is. This person's named in the files. This person got allegations for either touching on somebody or not paying somebody or beating on somebody or drunk driving or, just drugs, like getting pulled over for being intoxicated. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so predictable. They got a new whack ass song out that's not hitting. They showing a picture with a new car that they do not own, more rented money or more, rented whips and like fake money or the label money, loan money, that all the money they be flexing is a fucking loan. And I just be fucking tired of them whining about their label. So with artists, I feel like it's gotten so predictable. They do a lot of shit for shock value and for clout, And that's the name of the game, but it gets tiring. And I've been thinking about this for a while, because last summer when I had left my job, you guys know I was working a job back then, and I left. And when I left then, I really thought to myself, I said, like, what am I going to do with content? I was like, do I still want to be making this type of content in a few years? And I really thought about that. And, I continued to make content because I think another story came about that I found it to be interesting or whatever. But I can't lie to you guys. I don't miss grinding with content. I don't miss grinding with it. I like being in a space where, like, I feel stable, I feel secure, I feel safe. I like being in a space where, like, I'm doing something that I'm in a stable, solid career field, because content comes and goes. They have content creators who have way more followers than me, who talk about making way less money from YouTube, because, again, YouTube as a platform has changed. And, again, it's a good life to live when you're making enough money to, like, support yourself on content. But it is also kind of like, at any moment, this shit can, like, get ugly. So it's nice to have, like, a real world job where I guess you just have more stability and a little bit more reassurance now, and then, like, benefits and stuff like that, because YouTube they don't got all of that. And I know that there's a lot of insecurity and instability in the job market right now. I know it's hard to find work. I know it's hard to find good paying, meaningful work that's, like, not at a toxic ass place that is, like, desperate for people, and they have a revolving door of people because they all suck. I know. And I really wanted to, like, be specific, because you can go find a job. You can go find, like, one of these little low-paying jobs, just say you have a job, just to have some money coming in. And there are times where, as people, we got to do it. We got to put our pride aside. We got to just take, these little low-paying jobs, just, do what we got to do. But you already know what comes with it. And even with the high-paying jobs, even with the high-paying corporate jobs, there comes their own beasts and devils with that. With, corporate being super draining, corporate being super fake, being very snaky, being very backstabby. There's a lot of incompetence that goes on in the corporate world, and there's just a lot of fucking laziness. There's a lot of ass-kissing and all type of stuff. So, just people getting away with all type of little bullshit, because they, maybe screwing somebody or, smiling at somebody the fucking right way. I get it. I get how corporate can be just as ratchet as a retail job, a gas station job, a government job, whatever. But I also know that, again, when you're looking for work, you got to be specific. And that's why you should when you were looking for a job, and please take it from me, you guys, because I have worked my fair share of jobs. When you're looking for a job, please walk in the spirit of, what I want, especially when you are, like, looking for, like, hey, this is a career job, not just I gotta pay bills. When you're looking for that career job, I really pray that you guys are looking for a place, again, where, like, the culture is good enough to just allow you to work there, and, like, do your job at the bare minimum. I know a lot of y'all don't like to be super chummy with your coworkers. A lot of Black people have that mindset, and I get it, but I also feel like, it is important to be friendly and smile. And I'm a friendly, smiley person. I'm happy in my life, but I think, I definitely do my best to just keep it professional, and I think you can't go wrong just being like that. You can't go wrong with just smiling and being professional and just being kind and, like, having hospitality. I don't think it has to be, like, so rigid and cold and, like, bitch, this ain't the Bad Girls Club. This is work. So all of that, I'm not here to make friends. Like, bitch, like, no, you're here to make acquaintances. You're here to make, like, you're here to, like, make people who's supposed to be on your team. People who gonna speak about you in a good way when you're not around. So I think that's just important to like keep in mind when you approach the workplace. Any workplace is a winner's mindset, and a winner's mindset is I'm gonna work with whoever I gotta work with and do it with a smile and just do it with a winning attitude, because I'm so focused on success that I don't give a fuck about who don't like me and who's saying what, who jealous, who envious. I don't give a fuck about what the fuck y'all doing and how the fuck y'all feel, because I'm so focused on success and I'm so focused on where I'm going. So you could do what you want to do, but I'm going to win. I'm walking away with that trophy. And that trophy could be a promotion, or again, at the company that you're with, or the company that you want to go to. But if the trophy that you're looking for is more pay and more power, whatever the fuck you're looking for in your work career, or just success where you are, like, no, we're not letting people who bitter and miserable, like, turn us bitter and miserable and make us sour, whatever. Like, I done been through it, and I'm like, looking back, I'm very proud of the way I handled situations, because Lord knows there have been times where I wanted to just completely go Harambe on a hoe. But like, God has like definitely delivered me from a lot of shitty places, and sometimes being delivered is getting fired. So I'm just saying, like, sometimes God is like, nope, like, however it's got to happen, you got to get away from them. So I just say all that to say, like, I'm wishing like a healthy work environment upon you guys, for those of you who are looking. I don't miss being in that energy of like grind. It's not healthy as a woman. It's not healthy. And that's definitely, again, something that I've had to learn on my healing journey. I definitely think that God, again, will put you through certain things to like teach you things. And like, God has definitely successfully got me out of a lot of that toxic productivity and like toxic, grind mindset, hustle culture, grind culture. I definitely feel like I've ascended from a lot of that, and my mind can't even like entertain a lot of that anymore. Like, when I think about like, how can I make more money? It's never like, I'm like, no, that I have part-time jobs and like anything that requires me to exchange like a significant amount of more time into like another person's company. Like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, anything that I do on the side needs to be like the betterment of myself. And sometimes that takes time, but it's 100% worth it, because at least like you can never lose on investing in yourself. Sitting at a company hourly every day, yeah, like, especially if you're doing it full-time and part-time and whatever the fuck, it can just be draining. And so I've had to really heal a lot from toxic productivity, I'm telling you, and just overworking, stress, stuff like that. And I think that's kind of where some of, like, I guess, my inflammation was coming from, is like just being overly stressed. And again, I have put in the work with content. You guys have seen it. I've been on YouTube for years, and I was on TikTok, for a little while, but I've made a lot more progress on TikTok than YouTube. I've made a good amount of progress on Instagram, but ultimately, again, I still have to work, and I enjoy working, but YouTube on its own has not really, like, again, done for me what I would have hoped it to. And maybe in the future it will, but like, YouTube, again, the algorithm kind of picks and chooses who it's looking for as well. And that just is what it is. But it's good to not be in the spirit of like relying on YouTube or like overly working on YouTube to try to like force it to pop and try to, force it to like happen when I want it to happen. It's a much better energy to just like go with the flow and be like, you know what, I'm gonna post, and if it pops, it pops, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't miss being like, okay, content has like gotta work. Like, no, like, content has like done what it can do, but I can't like force an algorithm that has like repeatedly shown me like, bitch, I just don't want to like promote you. Whereas again, like, and that's why I went where I was loved. Like, that's why I went to TikTok until TikTok got really sensitive. And that's why I went to Instagram, and I'm still on Instagram. So I go where I'm loved. And again, I'm just glad that I'm not in a space where like, I feel like I gotta make it. I gotta make it on YouTube. Like, no. Whatever happens with YouTube happens. I'm indifferent, and that's the best place to be. Even when it comes to like just manifestation in general, the best place to be is in a place where like you're just like, fuck it, because that's when you truly like don't care. and you're divested from it. So I wanted to get that out with content. I want to maybe move into, again, more health and wellness content. I have to like think about how that looks though. I just know right now that is gonna like take time to think about. Super focused on like a particular project, again, in my day job. So that is like taking up all my time. And once I finish that, then I can kind of come back into like my creative space and think of like what's next. But I want to know how you guys are doing too. I have opened up my Discord to you all to join so we can talk about books and we can talk about movies and like movie reviews. Again, that's another place that we can be, you know, for free, or you can like join my Instagram. I have like a group on Instagram too. So they got so many places you can join if you want to like share information. I have a website. You can comment there. Like if you want to continue the conversation or have a conversation, I have avenues where we can do that in an uncensored way. Something else that I think I wanted to get into a little bit is just like channeled messages. And, I guess when it comes to like the health and wellness stuff, because I did want to get into that a little bit. You know, God assigns people tasks and God assigns people responsibilities. And this is something, again, that I think is a big part of my health and wellness journey. It's just, you know, mindfulness. Again, mental health is everything. And just God letting me know, again, like, hey, you need to work on more spiritual protection. You have particular tasks and responsibilities. Part of having gifts, part of having talents is, and having favor and just God, again, having anointing over your life, is having tasks that you have to complete and responsibilities. To whom much is given, much is tested, pretty much. And so part of that is you do have to work. You have to get these things done. You know, I have a lot of projects to do, again, as a creative person, but you can't do it all in one day. You have to be consistent and you have to make time to rest. God has tried to teach me, again, I guess, divine balance. But that, again, I do have responsibilities and like divine tasks, nonetheless, like things that God demands that I do. God has told me to be careful with yes, my time, energy, attention, and the things that I say. And like the things I give attention to, the things I respond to, anything. Like what, I mean, I'm telling you, God has really made me think harder. God has told me to ignore a lot of people. That's the best way to handle a lot of people, is just to ignore them. He also said the best way to handle a lot of situations is just to not talk at all. You know, to not talk and to ignore. Like, this is what God has taught me, and remain focused. Remain focused on the task that He wants me to complete. There are people that are being sent to distract me from my divine task. So God has given me some pointers on how to handle these attacks so that I can complete these missions. And so, and again, these missions are, again, just things in my personal life, things that God wants me to do, you know, with the gifts and talents that He's given me. When it comes to, again, using my words and the things I give attention to as well, God has told me there's an oversaturation of mindlessness in the world. There's an oversaturation of gossip and misinformation. There's an oversaturation of propaganda. There's an oversaturation of opinion and commentary. God has made me think, what do you want to be popular for? And He said, be mindful of self-exploitation when it comes to, again, creating content for money, and never underestimate the beauty of having a private life. So these are like divine channeled messages that I feel like I've, you know, gotten in my life recently. And these are messages that, again, really hold true and dear. Again, I think of it as, again, part of just my mindfulness and meditation when it comes to like health and wellness, because health and wellness is a lot more than just, you know, pills and potions and teas and herbs. It's really just prayer and meditation. And, you know, let me know if you guys have been working on that. And if you've been reading, fasting, cleansing, doing any type of stuff like that, working out, let me know what you guys have been doing, if you've been doing anything at all. Okay. God also told me, you know what, before I signed off, God also told me every battle has already been won. And I was like, that's really interesting. When it comes to the year of the fire horse, I hear a lot of people again talking about like just the energy of like taking off and going full force at like the things that you want to do. I've heard that a lot of career changes are coming for people. So let me know, is that you guys? Like, are you changing where you live? Are you changing your relationships? Are you changing where you work? Let me know if that's happening for y'all. But with that being said, again, I want to sign off. I appreciate y'all for listening. This is just kind of where I am right now. Comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.